Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and welcome back to a very important day of qualification matches here for Major 1. Some teams getting massive W's on the board, but also some teams now confirming their winners bracket spot for the Major. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Let's just dive into things then. Firstly, actually this from Crimsix thought was kind of funny. Kind of, well, a good explanation as to why New York might have been struggling as of late. Looks rather similar to this fella here right in the Beijing Olympics right now, so maybe no, that's what Porter's been up to the last couple of weeks. That's why New York haven't been performing. When he's back in business, this team's going to fly sky high, and I'm sure there's a lot to be said really on the state of New York in the coming days, especially if next week does not go to plan. Definitely one of the biggest topics in the community right now, and for good reason most certainly. These are the 4 games on the day. I'll talk about Thieves versus Mutineers tomorrow, but 3 very juicy games to dive into. The first one of which being London Royal Ravens versus Minnesota Rokkr. Great match honestly, but also great casting. I was really happy to see Ton and Brycey back as a casting duo. Casting this game was cool. They gave them the London game as well. I thought the first game of the day. And I mean, look, these guys, yes, we don't have Maven and Mack this year. That is an L. There's no looking two ways about it. But Bryce and Ton, fantastic duo. Really been a fan of their casting for many years. Like Atlanta and Standy, I think have improved significantly this year. Miles and Chance get better every year anyway. So honestly, all things considered, I think we have a great duo here. And these guys are obviously maybe a little bit of rust the first series on. But yeah, just cracking job from these guys once again. Love having them back part of the stream. And I thought they did a cracking job of this series. And well, also, it was a fantastic series to watch, at least from a European perspective. So yes, London versus Rokkr. I said to you guys earlier today that I'm going to keep my faith in London until they prove me otherwise. Just like, well, I picked them to win this series. I thought they'd get the job done. And honestly, I was so impressed. Like, everything about their gameplay was just so solid. Like, the coordination in Search and Destroy. But also what stands out, frankly, is just the absolute dominance in the slaying that they can bring to the party, right? Like, Zero this series, like, he massively turned up. We're going to know what to expect at this point out of Gizmo and Afro. And Nasty, I don't really think had to do all that much. But that was because Zero turned up to another level. The first game was on a Berlin at a hardpoint, I believe, 250 to 138 or something. Like, Minnesota got completely blown off the face of the earth. And then this game too was after, well, the first couple of rounds back and forth, Zero comes to play with a sniper, gets a lovely real 2-piece right here, and it goes on to win the rounds comfortably. The rest of the rounds just fly by, to be honest. Look at this, like 6-2 at the end of the day here on Berlin. Like, I look at the slaying, like Minnesota, you do not see very often that Minnesota get completely out-prepared, like, and just outplayed in Search and Destroy. Doesn't happen very often. Like, so not only do London have the slaying talent, but also they have the preparation right and the coordination, and I mean, the chemistry seems to be fantastic within the team. Definitely something that couldn't be said for some other teams, namely, New York right now don't seem to be in the greatest spot. So they really have everything going for them, and it does make them a very exciting prospect. Built a very similar roster to what Seattle have done, and now if you look at the league standings, like Seattle right up there, London right up there, FaZe right up there, we'll talk in a second here. But yeah, just so impressed. It's great to see really as a European Call of Duty fan, just because for so many years it's been difficult to get to a team that can consistently compete. The Splice team that Zero was part of back in the day, like it kind of felt like well, Splice kind of stage 1 Infinite Warfare 0 hit kind of a similar form today than what he was doing back in the day when he was throwing 1.27s on LAN against the best teams in the game. Like he kind of brought that level once again, and of course we've got Toronto as well from Europe killing it as well. So it's just great to see how things have gone really, and just the amount of talent that is outside of North America. There's other teams I'm sure now are realizing maybe it's a good idea to tap into. Of course, Paris managed to fail on that front, but of course, we'll talk about them in the next series. They play up against OpTic here, but as Kenny says, Afro does what he wants. Like, of course, there was some talk about ping right and the fact that Afro was just killing so damn quickly. But yeah, this guy was out of control. Just watching these guys POV is very entertaining, and they play such as a coordinated unit. And I mean, yeah, the team was obviously vibing very hard. The series ends pretty comfortably, 3-1 in the end. Minnesota do win the control, but London closes out in the final half, which was a close fought affair, but they got over the line, and in the end, a relatively comfortable series victory. This stat line is pretty insane. The fact that Gizmo dominated everything. Hardpoint MVP, S&D MVP, Control MVP, like a 1.3 over the series. This guy just does it again, man. Like, I'm definitely an underrated rookie, I think, going into right now, because a lot of people are looking at Sib, they're looking at Pred, understandably so, but I mean, Gizmo so far statistically has been right up there, if not number 1. I mean, he has most damage in the entire lobby, Zero not too far behind, 1.3 KD. Afro was smoking people as well, left, right, and center. Just a very impressive series here from London guys. Like, just they brought the slaying it to the next level. Not something you see too often against a very well-coordinated team like the Rokkr, because of course we saw them push Seattle the distance yesterday to the Game 5 round 11. Today, London take care of business. Like, I'm really excited for these guys, and of course what it does mean is that now they're 3-0 in their group, which pretty sure that does mean, I'm pretty sure there is some crazy scenario where 2 teams could be 0-5, and all the other 10 teams could be like 3-2, and then like technically 2 of the 3-2 teams wouldn't make it to winners, but I doubt that's even possible anymore with the way the fixtures have gone, and it's very very unlikely anyway. So frankly, if you get 3 wins, 3-2, 4-1, 5-0, that's going to be enough for you to get into winners. I'm pretty sure London will have secured that now. The seeding, of course, is another question mark, but oh well, great for the London guys, starting off the season the right way most certainly. This I also tweeted because it's certainly been a rare time as a European Call of Duty fan that there's a lot to be excited about from the European scene. The London team's killing it. Toronto look like arguably the best team in the game. It's very exciting stuff. I'm sure other organisations are going to cotton on to the talent that is present outside of North America at some point or another. Maybe when expansion comes in as well, we might see some of these other guys in this region get their shot. The Spanish guys as well would be great to see. But yeah, very excited for the future of this. Of course, like London still have to prove it on LAN. Of course, they went to the Kickoff Classic, didn't really work out. So I think that's kind of the question mark to me. I think London have certainly proved that online they can compete with and beat the very best. But still on LAN, the question is there. We'll see what they do at the major, starting from the winners bracket. The owners of that major, or at least the runners of the major, or the hosts of the major, are going to be OpTic Texas, right? Nelly was certainly locked in before the start of this series. You kind of saw this and thought, all right, here we go. OpTic have come to play today. They're going to handle business. And that's the thing. Paris, I think, clear cut really for most people, the worst team in the league. There was really no better team for OpTic to face today to get a nice bounce back confidence building series. I think that's what this had to be for OpTic. I said earlier today, if they lost this series, I would have been very concerned for the longevity of this roster. But winning this series definitely kickstarts a bit of confidence, a bit of momentum. And now, okay, they played Toronto, I believe, next, and then Boston. And then if they win both of those, they'll get to winners guaranteed. If they just win one, I think they still have a decent chance. But well, we shall see how that one goes. Game 1 of this series, 41 for Shotzi into Bakaj hardpoint. That's how these things go. Just an absolute mix. Early game, OpTic brought out a pretty substantial advantage. Paris fought back a little bit, but honestly, it seems like on Bakaj, when you get like a 50-point lead, it's very difficult to even, try and make a comeback as the other team, just because you can make every hill so mixy that if you do get an advantage, you can basically just go for the contesting and you spawn so close, and of course, it goes down to time once again right here again. So yeah, Bakaj, it's an interesting map. I kind of hope they can get rid of it for someone like Casablanca, but still, over time, we may well see. Definitely a good map for the OpTic guys, though, in theory, right? Shotzi's all over the place. He's a guy that's just going to love playing on this map, at least in theory. We've kind of seen inconsistent performances so far here in this game from the OpTic guys, but this time Shotzi most certainly came to play, as did the rest of the guys. Illy, to me, has kind of always been maybe the X factor on this team. Maybe it's difficult to say who the X factor is, but it feels like to me that if Illy's playing well and dropping big numbers, the team can very rarely lose, right? If Illy's dropping a 1.25 as he did in this series, OpTic's probably not going to lose no matter who they're playing against. So we'll see that when we look at the final stats here. But then into the game 2, this is where I think they went down 0-2 right at the start of this search and destroy, and I felt like, hey, hang on a second, OpTic search and destroy woes, are they going to continue? Because losing a 2-3-5 or something to Paris here would have been pretty tragic for them. But they bounce back from 0-2 down, go 6-1 over the next 7 rounds, win this one 6-3, and that's like a massive confidence builder for OpTic, right? Of course, they lost this map the other day to Minnesota, game 5 round 11, but taking it over against Paris definitely puts them on the right track. They go into their game 3 control, very confident they can close out the series, as indeed they do. 3-1 on Tuscan, they win a nice offense, they hold on Warriors as required to, and they get the job done. And this time Illy kind of rips off his headset, but doesn't throw it off the floor as he did a couple of days ago against the Minnesota Rokkr. So big series win for the OpTic guys. Of course, look, at the end of the day, it's Paris. We know that despite having a good competitive match against FaZe a few days ago, since then they've really fallen off of the pace. It's pretty tragic, frankly. They seem to have completely disappeared for even being relevant, frankly, on the competitive level. Just getting bodied by most people they play. Difficult week for these guys. Hopefully they can bounce back. But yeah, perfect time for OpTic really to come out, have a great series result. These guys kind of knew they needed to win this one. They came up with the fire. They got the job done. 3-0. That's massive for them, right? They play Toronto next week. That's certainly kind of been their, there was certainly their nemesis, I suppose, last year, right? Toronto always would get the better of OpTic, but at this time, I guess, a chance for revenge. And they're going to have to really up their game once again. Of course, they know full well that it wasn't exactly a perfect series. There's still things they could change, things they could fix up, but all things considered, a very comfortable victory, as you might expect for this team in theory and on paper, right? But of course, the teams they've played so far, looking back on, have turn out to be pretty good in game 5 round 11s, London and the Minnesota Rokkr. So yes, OpTic on the right track. Of course, they've still got 2 more games. They know there's still things to improve. He says, yeah, we all chime in at different times, says Scum right here. He was pretty happy about it, right? Finally on the board, says Scum. 1-3-0. Finally back on the board. That's something, of course, they're going to need for the season. They get the job done here against Paris. Of course, they won't always get the luck, I suppose, of the draw of having Paris in their schedule for next stage. But yeah, I guess we can actually look ahead at what that might potentially be. But some teams get lucky, some teams don't get so lucky. But with Paris in their current state, it's certainly a blessing for OpTic, I suppose, to get this one today, to get some nice confidence back in business. But these are the overall series stats. Scump goes negative with a 0.89, but the rest of the guys, Dashi has a 1.24, Illy has a 1.28, Shotzi with a 1.16. These are just the stats you want to see, right? Doesn't matter if Scump's going, 0.9, 0.95, 1.0, 0.9, whatever the case might be. That's that's okay if Dashy's getting a 1.2, which you might expect, and Shotzi's positive, and if Illy's positive as well, you're just not going to lose the series. This guy's very impactful with the kills he gets, so if he gets above a 1, like the team should be flying in theory. MVP goes to Illy, no doubt about it. OpTic take the series. Still plenty to work on, even Illy admits, right, a lot to work on as a team. Plan to work even harder now. But well, that's the job done they needed right here. And well, as Rambo says as well, solid day. GG's to Paris Legion. Still lots of good to take away, but still kinks to fix before our next matches. Because the fact of the matter is, Toronto are probably the hardest team in the world to beat, I would imagine, right now. And they always seem to never say die attitude. Doesn't matter if they're down 2-0, they're going to make it difficult for you. And OpTic are the type of team that if it does go game 5 in those questionable spots, they didn't really have a questionable spot today, right? They had a comfortable victory, but still the question does remain when the pressure is on, when you are in those clutch moments, when the game is close, do OpTic fold as they did in their first couple of series? Maybe we shall see that against Toronto, whether they fixed up some of those issues. We'll talk about the final series of the day again that I at least want to mention this video, FaZe versus the Boston Breach. Interesting series once again. It just feels to some degree that FaZe have kind of caught stride now, and they beat Thieves the other day. After this Thieves series, it kind of feels like, yes, aBeZy, Cellium, they continue to take over. Simp is kind of still finding his feet, I think, right here, but Cellium has still continued to be a monster, and aBeZy was really the player of the game today. He stepped up to a new level now on the SMG. The damage he was putting out is out of control. We'll have a look at the post-series stats here in a second. But yeah, game 1 goes the way of FaZe. Game 2, Boston bounce back in the search and destroy. But in the respawns, it seems the slaying really has been out of control for FaZe, and sometimes Nero and Capsule both have a tendency to go double negative and have a difficult map. TJ had a pretty shocking series here as well. And I mean, yeah, look at this. Marcy's makes it all the way in the back, gets the first kill, takes the second guy down as well. And that's good enough to give them a significant advantage. They take the control, they take the final hard point as well. 3-1 over the course of the series. Yeah, these are the final stats as well. Like aBeZy and Cellium, both of them. Plus 29 for aBeZy, 171. Cellium goes 83 and 59. Like you can see, yes, they have the same KD, but I mean, the amount more kills and death that these guys have is pretty insane. Like aBeZy had almost 12,000 damage. No one on Boston even got above 10k. And despite TJ so far in this game looking pretty good, this series he underperformed. And well, that's not what you want to happen up against Atlanta FaZe. And what that does mean is that FaZe also 3-0 here in stage 1. So that's really impressive, I think, from FaZe. They have not played their best Call of Duty by any means. Just shows the championship caliber team they are. Like having still not done that, they still find themselves 3-0, qualify for the winners bracket. And despite there still being work to do, teams like OpTic find themselves still in a bit of a gauntlet going into next week. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit that like button. Tell us on YouTube, gods, this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well. And help grow the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care. And I will see you next time.